Hi and welcome back. This is Jennifer McGuire and I am so excited that it is officially STAMPtember. So STAMPtember is a month-long celebration that the folks at Simon Says Stamp put on, where they have lots of collaborations, videos, deals, and much, much more. Well, on the 1st of STAMPtember, Simon Says Stamp releases a bunch of exclusive products. Every year they do more and more great designs, and I'm really excited about this year's release. When I got all the product, I was so impressed with the designs that I thought it would be really valuable to do a product release close-up, where I show you each of the products and give you ideas for using them. I also have several cards to share along the way. I am hoping that by doing this video, you can get a better idea of how to use the products and if any of them are ones that you want to invest in. Now, please keep in mind, I don't work for Simon Says Stamp. I'm just good friends with them, but I'm very thankful that they sent me this release so that I could do this video to give you a closer look. Throughout the video, if you see a little icon like this at the top of the screen, that means that I recommend looking at my description below or my blog, because I have a video suggestion of a technique video that I think would work perfect for that particular product. So be sure to check those out below. I'm hoping that gives you ideas on how to use these products. Okay, so let's get started. I'm first going to go through stamps, then dies, then stencils, and then some extra special unique products. So stay tuned for that. Okay, for stamps, there are clear stamps and cling stamps available. I'm going to start with my favorite of the release. This is my favorite stamp set. This is the Healing Hugs. This is a large 6x8 set. And again, you see that little icon up there. That means I have a technique video linked below that I think would be perfect for this stamp set. Anyways, I like this one because it has lots of healing sentiments, large ones, that all fit nicely into that little flower wreath on the bottom. You see that little floral wreath? Let me show you. See how you can fit sending healing hugs in there perfectly, or you can do the get well soon. And there are also smaller sentiments you could use on the front of your card or on the inside of your card. I send a lot of get well cards, so this will be handy for me. The technique video that I have recommended below is a dimensional sentiment video where you could stamp these on top of dimensional images, so flowers or anything you have, and it would be perfect for this set since many of the images are large. I also wanted to give you an idea how big these images are. This is a standard 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch note card, that yellow piece, so you can see how it fits nicely on there. Now, I don't always get the coordinating dies for stamp sets, but I recommend it in this case. It cuts out that large floral wreath. There are some heart dies in there, and then also word dies included in this that cuts out healing hugs, which I'll use on a card today and in my upcoming video. And by the way, share below what your favorite products are. I'm going to be giving some away. I have some extra product and also giving some away on my blog. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is Handcrafted with Love. If you make anything handmade, this could be a handy one. There are sentiments like Stamped with Love, Colored with Care, which I've never seen before, a one-of-a-kind card. There are little images for stitching, and then things that you can stamp like hand-stamped, handcrafted, hand-stitched, and hand-quilted. So you could stamp these on cute little tags that you tie onto your handmade gifts, or as I plan to do, I will stamp some of them on my envelopes. Also, there are coordinating dies available for this set. Next up is a 6x8 stamp set called All the Thanks. I really like the thank you messages in here, that many of them are super big and then some are super small and perfect for sentiment strips or for the inside of your card. So what I would think would be super fun to do with this is to create a sentiment background where you fill in your entire background with the sentiments, especially the thin line sentiments in here, and then put something on the front of that as a focal point. And that video that I recommend for this set shows how to do that, and I have that link below. I'll be using this stamp set in my upcoming videos, so stay tuned for that, and there are coordinating dies available. Okay, here we have another 6x8 stamp set called the Floral Heart. Now, if you are one of those who likes to make large cards, such as 5x7, this large heart and large sentiments would be perfect, although it works great for smaller cards too. Now that large floral image has a lot of detail to it, so it'd be fun for quick techniques where you don't need to color it all in, but you definitely could color it in if you wanted to. Just to give you an idea of the size, this is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch note card, and you could stamp it kind of off center and then put a sentiment on the bottom right. You could also create a shaped card with that large flower image if you'd like. Another stamp set that I think would coordinate nicely with that floral heart is the Fabulous Florals. Lots of great unique images here that you could stamp and cut out and then layer together to create a really beautiful background. These images are very simple to color, so it's great for your different coloring techniques. And as I mentioned, you could team it up nicely with that last set that I showed you. I'm really liking the hand-lettered and hand-sketched feel of this next stamp set called School Days Grow. Now this I think is meant to be more for giving to teachers, but there are many sentiments in here that I think would work great for other people. You have thank you for helping me, thank you for believing in me, you have taught me so much. There are a lot of people in my life that I could imagine giving those sentiments to. I like the style of it and decided to do a super quick card using it, and I wanted to show you that here. Using my Misty, I stamped a sentiment along with that leaf cluster right above it. I then removed the sentiment from my Misty and then rotated my paper, and I'm stamping the leaf image again, but below the sentiment. That way we get perfect spacing and a very simple card where it looks like the leaves kind of frame our sentiment. This would be an excellent design to mass produce. So I did some quick Copic coloring into the leaves, and then I added a few dots to the left and the right of each of the leaf clusters. I also added tiny yellow dots. I trimmed that down and added it to a Simon Says Stamp Fog note card. Simple as can be, but a fun design. Here's another with the same style. This is Sending Sympathy. I really like the messages in here that say, I wish I could take the pain away, and also my heart hurts for you. I think messages like that, unfortunately, are ones that we could use often. The style is really beautiful and soft looking, so I think it would work great with a lot of different main images or focal images that you may have. Okay, next we have the 30 Days of Thankful for 2019. This was designed by Kathy Zilski, and I just love her clean cut designs. This is perfect for those of you who do scrapbooking or any kind of journaling. I had planned to actually do a month of grateful journals with my kids, where each night we write 3 things we're grateful for. And this could be the inspiration that I need to create a fun little journal for us to use. I'm also excited to see that Simon Says Stamp has another word mix stamp set out. This is Birthday Word Mix 1. So you can see there are lots of different sentiments in here. And what's cool is they have a die that cuts out all of these at once, or at least in 2 cuts. Now, they came out with this die a while ago and have another stamp set that coordinates with it. So I think they're going to be coming out with more stamp sets that coordinate with this one die. So here you can see how the die lines up perfectly, and in one cut through your die cut machine, you have all of those pieces cut. If you've never seen one of these word mix stamp sets and dies in action, check out that video that I have linked below. Okay, next we have probably the cutest birthday stamp set of all time. This is the Critter Crowd. That critter image down there fits perfectly across a card, and then there are lots of balloons and party hats that you can add onto them if you wanted to. There are also lots of different sentiments. I made a quick 1-layer card using this. I stamped the images onto a white note card and then added some quick coloring. I also used my shimmer pen on the balloons so they would have some shine. I added the word love you into the balloons. You can change this up for different occasions, and it's really fun and easy to use. This next set I'm excited to use very soon. This is the balloon letters. These are larger balloons since this is a 6x8 stamp set. And there are 2 different strings on the bottom that you can stamp to. There are coordinating dies available also. What's fun about this set is you can easily make a card that is personalized for the recipient. So Lila's little friend Meredith has a birthday coming up in a couple weeks, so she plans to use this and do each balloon in a different color, and then have them going across the card. You can even team this up with the Critter Crowd set that I just showed you. Okay, there's one more birthday stamp set for today. This is another 6x8 and it's called Celebrate You. What's cool about this set is there's a lot of different types of stamps included in the set. So you have the little wine glasses, you've got some candles, you've got balloons. So you can do a lot of different kind of styles, I guess, for your birthday cards with this. Also, you see the script Happy Birthday and the script Let's Celebrate. Keep those in mind because a little later in this video, you'll see there are dies with that same style, but bigger. So you could use these images with those nicely. Okay, so let's move on to holiday sets and start with Halloween. Here we have one of the most unique stamp sets I've ever seen. This is My Zombie Boo, and it's hilarious. It has these great zombie images, and my favorite is the zombie hand coming out of the ground, and it says, "Just reaching out to wish you a happy Halloween." Really funny, little playful, unique images here. And of course, there is a coordinating die set available. Okay, for fall theme, we have this 6x8 stamp set that has these adorable dogs in different fall scenes. And of course, the sentiments that match up with it nicely. There is a coordinating die set available for this one too. Okay, let's move on to Christmas. So here is such a cute set. Christina is so talented. This is the Meowie Catmas set. Now, if you are a cat person, this is a set for you. Look at all those creative little cat images and the sentiments to go with them. Now, I'm a dog person because I'm allergic to cats, but I have a lot of cat-loving friends, so I'll be using this one a lot throughout the season. Okay, next we have Ho Postage, which is a super cute set with lots of clean images that are fun for simple cards and would be great for mass-producing cards for the holiday season. I think it would be fun to do a background filled with all of these images and then have one be the focal point that you die cut and have popped out. But today I created a very simple card with this set because that reindeer was just too cute to resist. So I stamped the reindeer postage image with a teal ink, and I cut out the center there. I also gold heat embossed the reindeer postal image, and I used the coordinating die to cut that out. I stacked them together with some foam tape, added black enamel dots for the eyes, and some gold glitter Nuvo drops for the shiny nose. On the background, I used white pigment ink with a stencil that I'll be showing you a little bit later in this video. It's a super simple card, but was a lot of fun to make. Okay, we have the Tabbed Sentiments Holiday Set from CZ Designs and Simon Says Stamp. Now, this is perfect for all of you who do scrapbooking, but there are many messages here that would also work for card making. We have "O Come All Ye Faithful" on the bottom that I plan to use for my family's holiday cards this year. And there are lots of others in there too. I like the simple, clean design of this font because it works with any style stamps you have. Last but not least, we have the Inside Christmas Greetings. This is a large 6x8 set with lots of messages that I think would work great either on the front of a card or in the inside of the card with any other products that you want on the front. Down there on the bottom, it says "Happy Christmas from my family to yours." I really like that one. And then I love the one that says, "May your holidays be filled with the joy of the season and the coming new year." Really classy designs and sentiments. It's nice to have different type of sentiments to use for your holiday cards. Okay, now it's time for our background stamps. First, we have the Flora Background, which is my favorite of the backgrounds for today. This one has just a very classic but unique design to it, and it would be great for all different types of watercolor techniques. Or you can do embossed resist, you could stamp this and color it, you could even stamp it with like a white pigment ink on a dark colored cardstock and it would just be gorgeous. And there is a die later that I think matches up with this nicely, and I'll mention that when we get to it. The video that I chose to link up for this one is a color blocking technique that I think would be perfect. Okay, next we have the Poinsettia Background, which would be great background for very classic, beautiful looking holiday cards. You could also stamp this and cut out one of the poinsettias and pop it up. Maybe only color that one for a spotlight technique. Beautiful classic image. Now remember how earlier I showed you a few school kind of themed sets? This is the Radiating Alphas, which I think would be fun for back to school cards or teacher cards. Love the circle elements of this, but really you could use this for a lot of things. You could just put a cute little critter there in the center and then stamp that with a tone on tone in the background. Fun and different, and I hope they do some like this with sentiments too. I'll be using the handwriting paper background stamp a lot, especially for teacher cards. In fact, I made one using this background stamp and a Simon Says stamp set that came out with their last release. This is called School Days. I wanted to show it to you here since I use it on my card example. Lots of great teacher sentiments in here. You could even use this for creating cards for your kids. I decided to use the one that says number 2 on the pencil and number 1 in our hearts. So I stamped that and added just some quick Copic coloring and a little bit of shimmer with an aqua shimmer pen. On the background, I used the handwriting paper background stamp. I stamped that with Simon Says stamp fog ink on Simon Says stamp cardstock. Simple design, easy to mass produce. Okay, next we have the Spooky Silhouette background stamp. This is a great background stamp for Halloween cards because you can create one very quickly. You could stamp this with maybe black ink or dark gray ink on a colored cardstock or even on just white or craft cardstock. Add a sentiment and you're good to go. You could even add a little shimmer here and there or gems for stars. Next is the beautiful Winter Floral Mix background stamp. Now this one is meant for the holidays because there's some holly and berries in there, but you could change the colors up and use this one all year long. Now, I think it would be beautiful for a tone-on-tone background, or do white heat embossing on watercolor paper and do like a loose watercolor to add a bit of color to it. Okay, now it's time to go over the dies of this release, and I'll be honest, the dies blew my mind. There are many of them and a little bit of something for everyone. I will be sharing that yellow note card that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so you can get a size reference when you compare it to the dies. Okay, so here we have the large Thank You Swirl die, which I of course adore because I love word dies. This is very thin lined and detailed and would look perfect on top of any stamped background. I'll be using this in a video very soon. I also like that it fits nicely on to a regular note card. Now this isn't actually note card size. I'll show you the note card size in a moment, but I wanted you to see what it looks like die cut and then glued onto a card. This was just a little example piece that I did here. So here is a regular note card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and you can see how it fits perfectly either horizontally or vertically. Next up is the Scripty Happy Birthday die set. So you have the die that cuts out the word Happy Birthday, and then also the die that cuts the large shadow. Now remember earlier I showed you a large birthday stamp set that had a smaller version of the same script, so it's a perfect match. And along the same lines is the Scripty Let's Celebrate die set. Again, you get the words and the shadow. This one would be fun to do like a balloon background, either stamped or using a stencil, and then adding this to the middle, maybe with some gold glitter cardstock. Okay, next we have the Thinking of You heart die set. So you get the outline heart die that I just took out of the screen there. I'll bring it back in a moment. And this Thinking of You heart. So you can die cut the Thinking of You, and you get this intricate die cut that's beautiful, and then also die cut the shadow for it. It fills nicely onto a card and would be beautiful with a die cut inlay. The video idea I linked for this product shows a foil die cut inlay, which I think would be really fun with this. Okay, next we have a few smaller word dies. Here we have welcome. So you get that negative space piece that you see on the right, and then you can also use those tiny little letters that you see there on the bottom. I like these options where you have either or. Here we also have the Simon Says stamp happy die and then the Simon Says stamp friend die. So these are sold separately, but in each cases the sets come with the word and the shadow die. I particularly like the friend one. I like the style of it and that you can stamp a tiny little sentiment under the die cut. Okay, now it's time for some holiday dies. This is joyful. You have the word joyful and the shadow die included. I think this one would be fun to die cut joyful a bunch from white cardstock and fill a background with them on a white note card. Then do one with the shadow that's of a bold color, maybe red or red glitter, and put that in the center. Okay, here is the Ho 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 tag die. This would be a great alternative to a boring old tag for a Christmas gift. So you could die cut this and then back it with maybe some glitter paper, and then you can write the to and from on the top. It's also the perfect size to fit in the center of any card. Next, we have the Trick or Treat die set. This again cuts the words, and you also have the shadow die. What is fun about this is you could cut away the words trick and just use the word treat, and then stamp with it a treat for you or treat yourself, just using some of the stamps that you may have that will team up with it. So that way you could use that treat die throughout the year. Now there are 2 boo word dies in this release. Both of them have the word boo and the shadow, just 2 different styles depending on what you like. So this first one is the boo word, and then the second one is boo with an exclamation mark. So this one has very thin letters for the inside, which I think is really nice. And you could even do a die cut inlay with these dies. Okay, now for a really intricate, beautiful large die, we have the Fancy Missing You. This is so pretty. So you have the die with the intricate flowers and the message that says Missing You. And then there's also the shadow die. So if you want to cut something to mount it on, you have that option too. So I think it would be beautiful to die cut this from a bright, bold color and just cut out the words Missing You, and then glue that onto a white die cut of the same. So that way you have Missing You standing out a bit more, and you can add color behind the flowers. Die cut inlay would also be beautiful. I'm crazy about the eucalyptus leaves. I just love the style of these, and that they cut the little marks in each of the leaves. Very detailed die, super thin there. I just think it's beautiful. And I'll be using this soon in a video too. Okay, next up we have the Floral Bundle die, another very intricate one. I think it'd be fun to do a very simple card where each petal in the on the flowers is a different color, and you could do like a rainbow of colors across. This is another one that I would stack to give it a little bit of dimension too. Along the same lines, and what another die that would work well with the flower bundle is the New Blossom die. This would also team up nicely with the Flora Background stamp that I showed you earlier and the stencil that I'll show you a little bit later. And then one of the die sets I think will be a big hit in this release is the Sunflower Stem die set. It's this giant detailed sunflower die and the coordinating shadow die. Now I've got this one already working on my desk so that I'll show it in my next video, so stay tuned for that. But I really like how this fills the card so nicely. Next we have both the Leafy Square die and the Fern Square die. These are the same size, so they'd be great to use together. I think it'd be fun to cover the background of a card. You could even put them at an angle and kind of tile them together, and then make one a bold color so it's the focal point. Lots of great techniques that you can do with this one, and this one will also be featured in my next video. Next, we have the Birch Tree Collage die. Now this is a great window die that you could use for a shaker card, but what I think it would be great for is an inside tunnel card. I've done a video before, that's what I'm going to link up as an idea for this die. You can put any kind of little animal in there, a stamped critter or a die cut critter, or just a word die. You could even create a beautiful sky background. Okay, here we have the Elegant Fall Blooms die. I'm excited about this one because this is so different. It fits perfectly across a card, as you can see, and all you have to do is add a stamped sentiment in the center or a word die. It even embosses those details in the center. So pretty, and I hope they do more like this. It has a unique style to it and can be used in many ways. I'll also have that one in my next video. And then the lighthouse. This cuts the intricate lighthouse die cut. Then there's also the shadow die that teams up with it. Okay, the first die that I used from this release is the Shimmer Rounded Rectangle die. So you have 2 dies here, and let me show you all the ways that you can use it. So one thing you can do is cut them together, and you end up with this rounded rectangle die cut with all those intricate openings. It fits nicely on a card. Another option is to cut the rounded rectangle by itself so that you have a piece to put behind your detailed die cut. So you can layer those together. Then you can also use that rounded rectangle die on your background, and you can barely see it there, but it does a double row of faux stitching around the edge of it. So you can put that die cut in the middle. And then another way you can use this is just the detailed die without the frame die, and just die cut it from a panel. Such a beautiful design. So my example for you with this stamp set is a die cut inlay technique, which I know can be tricky and time consuming, so I have a little trick for you here. So I started by cutting the rounded rectangle from white cardstock that's backed with adhesive. This will just save me some time. This is Couture Creations Die Cut and Bond, which I've been using lately and really like. Any kind of thin adhesive, like stick-it adhesive, would also work here. All I'm doing is making a sticky backed white cardstock. I am now using the rounded rectangle die to cut from that, and now I have a white cardstock rounded rectangle die with adhesive on one side. So I'm going to pull off that release paper and then add the intricate die cut rounded rectangle right on top. That way all of those openings have adhesive exposed, so we can add the little pieces in. Now that can be time consuming, so here's a trick. I die cut that shimmer rectangle from pink cardstock, and I'm popping out all the pieces that I don't want to be pink on my final card. So I'm just keeping these little clusters of flowers. This doesn't take that long, you just quickly pop them all out. Once you have all the extras popped out, you're going to line this up with the pattern on our die cut background, so that white piece. See how I can line it up very easily? And now I'm going to press all of those little pink pieces into the adhesive on the white die cut. So you just pop it through. You can use any kind of tool to push through here. You can use a toothpick, you can use a stylus, a bone folder. Here I'm just using a paper piercer. So you'll see that the pink pieces are in place. There are a few that I missed because I accidentally popped them out, but I can easily put those in by hand. I just pick them up with the tip of my piercer and pop them in place. Now I did the same process for the green, and now for the last one I did yellow. All the tiny little dots I left in place in yellow. Lining up the pattern here. It's easy to see through. You can see how it just goes right in place. And now I'm just going to push through all the little yellow dots. Here I'm using a piercer. You can also use your jewel picker. Really any kind of pointy tool would work here. So after I've pushed all the yellow dots into the adhesive on my white die cut, we end up with this beautiful die cut inlay piece. I just rub my bone folder over it to make sure they stay put, and we're ready to assemble our card. So now I have my background panel where I use the rounded rectangle frame die, and I cut that from some Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock and added it to a note card. In the center, you'll see the Hugs die cut. That's from the Healing Hugs die set that coordinates with the stamp set that I showed you at the beginning of this video. So there we have a really nice looking die cut inlay, and it didn't take that long to do it all. Along the same lines is the Shimmer Flower die set. And again, you have the die that cuts the intricate little details. Then you have the coordinating die that cuts around it with the faux stitching around that. So you can use them together as I did here to create the single die cut. Be fun to cover a background with this. Now you can also use the frame die cut itself, the coordinating frame die cut, to create the little platform that can go behind your die cut. And then you can also use the frame die itself just to create your window with the faux stitching around it. Or you can just use the intricate die by itself and die cut that from a panel to go on the front of your card. I like that these have a lot of options to them, and they have done this kind of filigree style dies many times in the past over at Simon Says Stamp, so there are a lot of videos out there with ideas using them, and of course I link to those below. Next we have the Filigree Squirrel, such a cute little guy. Now this has that filigree detail pattern for the die cutting, and then the outline of the squirrel is done in faux stitching. So you can create a simple card with color showing through, or you can do a die cut inlay if you would like. And along the same lines is the Filigree Teacup. So you have the die that cuts all the openings and then also does the faux stitching for the outline of the teacup. Okay, we have one last die to share with you. This is the Ho Deer Circle. Now this goes nicely with the Ho Postage stamp set that I used earlier. It creates this cute little window with that reindeer. All you have to do is add a red glitter nose to him and you'd be good to go with a simple sentiment underneath. This also would be fun for a shaker card with some clear sequin shaking around behind it, or even for a little Christmas tag. Okay, now it's time for stencils. There are a few in this collection and they're all really good ones. The first one is one of my favorites. I have two favorites actually. This is the Holiday Foliage stencil. This is the one that I used with white pigment ink very lightly on the back of that reindeer card that I showed you earlier. I really like the playful style of this and that you can mask off certain areas. So you can get a cluster of holly, or you could just have a little pine, or you could have that little leaf cluster at the top. So you can kind of mask off areas and get single images from it. This would be so beautiful with like a glitter paste over a soft colored cardstock for a holiday card background. Next, we have the Flora stencil. If you'll remember earlier, I showed you the Flora Background stamp, and they go together quite nicely. Now, this is super intricate, and I think it would be lovely to use for letterpress. You can actually run a stencil through your die cut machine with cardstock and an embossing mat, and it'll press the stencil into the paper, and it'll give the beautiful kind of letterpress look with this stencil pattern. You could also use your Distress Inks sprays over this, or you could just do a nice inked background for your holiday card. Okay, I'm looking forward to using the Deco Weave stencil. This has such beautiful detail that you could mask off the stripes and maybe put a border on a card. You could also ink this up with white pigment ink, then slightly shift it, offset it a bit, and then use a colored dye ink over it to get a really cool shadow look. Now, my other favorite of the stencils is the Tumbling Leaves stencil. This is so beautiful. You can put this on a card vertically or horizontally, and then have a focal point there towards the bottom left. I'll be using this in a video very soon. This would be great with any kind of embossing paste, glitter paste. You could even ink over this with Versamark ink, and then use embossing powder. My guess is you'll see lots of YouTubers using this stencil. Next, we have the Jack-o'-lantern stencil, which is brilliant. All you have to do is mask off one of the two pumpkins on the bottom, ink them up with orange ink, and then you can use black ink or dark gray ink to ink one of the faces on top of that. It'd be fun to even use black glitter paste for the faces, and then you can put the little top on the pumpkin too. I'll be using those for favors in my daughter Lila's class. And then there is the candy corn stencil. I plan to use this one by masking off the stripes so you can get the three colors to the candy corn for a background, and then you can use that trick or treat die that I showed you earlier right on top in the center. And the last stencil from this release is the quilted stencil. This would be beautiful for a soft quilted inked background. However, I think it would be fun to ink with one soft color, then rotate it a little bit, and then ink it with another color to create a layered background. It also is perfect for a holiday card because it has that homemade feel to it. Okay, next there are a few pre-printed sentiment packs in this release. If you've seen my videos, you've probably seen me use the Simon Says Stamp sentiment strips, which are pre-printed and you just cut them out and add them on a card. You can even use foil on them with your laminator. Well, now they have a few different pre-printed packs. This first one is called Inside Out Birthday. So you have the larger sentiment that you could put on the front of the card, and then the smaller sentiment that you can put on the inside of the card. So there are two different cards in here, and there's two of each. So you have plenty to make lots of birthday cards. And next there is the Inside Out Thank You sentiments. So the nice thing about this is you could use a different thank you sentiment on the front, like a stamp, and then cut out the other messages to put on the inside of the card, because people always ask about what to put on the inside of cards. I mentioned that you can foil these with a laminator. I will link to a video where I show how to do that here. It's really a nice way to add a foiled sentiment to your card. And then there is the Besties pack, which has lots of funny sentiments to give to your close friends. All 4 cards are the same in this pack, so you have lots that you can use on cards. Okay, now for the thing that I'm most excited about and a little bit different. There are lots of enamel pins in this release. I've collected enamel pins for a long time now, so I'm excited to see so many crafty ones in this release, along with some in some familiar designs from Simon Says Stamp stamps. So first up, we have some animals. We have the monkey, the Chihuahua, the giraffe, and the love bear. And Lila has already put all 4 of these on her backpack. Then for the crafters, we have Stay Crafty. I like that this is a large pen that's bold. And then we have Long Live Snail Mail. This is a little bit smaller, and I plan to put this one on my purse. Then we have Girl Gang, which is super cool because the letters have pink glitter in them. Now, along the same design as those filigree dies from earlier, we have the Filigree Heart, which is gorgeous in real life, and the special STAMPtember pin, which is celebrating the 10 years of STAMPtember at Simon Says Stamp. I'm really happy that Simon Says Stamp created this next pin because I love that more and more guys are getting into card making, so the Dudes Craft 2 pin will be super popular. And then my favorite of all, look at this. It's a little mailbox that opens up with an envelope inside. Perfect for all of us card making addicts. All right, there you have it. A look at the Simon Says Stamp STAMPtember release. This is our 10th anniversary of this celebration, and a big congratulations to them. I love you all at Simon, and thank you for all you do for our card making community. Okay, if you're interested in these products or the videos that I suggested, they are linked below in my YouTube description, but there's lots more over on my blog, including photos of these cards and more. I'll be back very soon using more of these products. I'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day and take care.